Bene's bloody bits.
And Malcolm's juicy texts.
We're running a little bit late, folks. Thank you for being patient. And it's a crazy Monday. How was your 4th of July?
My 4th of July was actually really good. We got out the American banners. We danced, we cheered. We had the girls dancing in the, American flag bikinis, the really, really thingy ones, the Julia Strain style ones. And we had cakes for toppers. We had massive fireworks in the sky. And it was really nice, actually, and we were in England, so none of that actually happened. But it was a good time. It was a good time. It was nice, relaxing. What was it that happened on that? Oh, we had the election that day. So, that went well. What about you?
I actually did go to the beach. I went to with family and stuff, and I hadn't been like boogie boarding in years, but I grew up in the beach. I grew up in Long Beach. So I got the boogie board, went out there for at least 2 hours.
Damn.
Had a ball, and then I suffered for 2 days because I was in pain.
Sounds about right.
Because in my mind, I'm still young, right? I can recover from it really quick.
Yeah.
My body said, oh no. But luckily I had a 4-day weekend, so I had time. But yesterday was the first day I started to feel right, but I didn't realize I had a big old, scraped up my knee. I guess at some point I got dumped into the sand. And
that's called old age and not knowing your limits. Alex!
You know what, though? It was totally worth it. I'll do it again. It was fun because my wife's birthday is on the 4th of July as well.
Oh, nice.
And she just turned 50. So it was kind of, a lot of things going on that day.
Wow. So you guys are quite close in age then.
She prefers it not to be on 4th of July because, people make plans to go on vacations out of town, out of country. But it's all good, man. Alex says, I've only seen Phantasm 1 and 2. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Well, Alex, the interesting thing was this was supposed to be
a fart blower.
A fart blower on Phantasm Ravager, which is the 5th and final film. I'm going to wait till we get to that film to talk more about it. So we're going to do a retrospective on the entire series, all 5 films. And we're going to talk about the original, the 1979 film from Don Coscarelli, Phantasm. I didn't see it in the theater, caught it on cable or regular TV, but it's a unique film, very original. I mean, the whole mausoleum with the flying spheres, with, razor blade,
the dreamy aesthetic as well, like the nightmarish dreamy aesthetic that happens throughout the whole film. You don't know what's real, you don't know what isn't.
It kind of plays like Euro horror, maybe even a Dario Argento. And with this series, beginning with the original, don't try to make sense of what's going on in logic, because I think that gets thrown out the door for the visuals. If you're one that wants things to be linear and straightforward, then you're not going to enjoy this film. So
that's Alex to tell you.
I mean, the tall man, I had never seen or heard of Angus Scrimm before this film, but I just don't see anybody else playing the role of this, this ghoulish guy that oversees.
You know what I love? I love that walk. Where you hear the footsteps, and it's like every time he's walking, he's in slow motion, and a bit where he turns in front of where the ice cream bit is, and he's like that. I love that.
You can tell he's like a trained actor. They didn't just get some, bum off the road, to play the part. They've never remade Phantasm. I don't know. I mean, I guess people might go, well, of course you can remake it, because look at how many times someone's played Dracula or Frankenstein or Wolfman. But I'm like, in this case, man, it's kind of like Robert Englund in A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not just, it's the walk. It's the talk. It's the smoothness. It just doesn't work. And, prior to this, Coscarelli, the only film I think he did was Kinney and Company, which was like a drama.
Yeah.
But parts of Phantasm, and actually most of the series were shot in my hometown. Not all of it, but bits and pieces of it, like a mausoleum here, or, you know, the crypt here. And so I do have a connection to this film. What, you know?
Oh, no. This is what I call the James Johnson effect. That's when basically you love the film because it has a connection to you.
No, I mean, it's a good film. I mean, the 70s ended strong with Alien and films like Phantasm, and also the score. You can't go without talking about
the score is lovely. It's very haunting. There's something that makes you, when you listen to the score, there's something that, especially in the mausoleum scenes, it really makes you feel like there's this slow, dreading death kind of feeling, and you're kind of witnessing it and feeling it. It's a weird kind of atmospheric feeling, but you have, like, kind of affects you in the head. That's how good it is.
And of course, we can't go without talking about, you know, his little minions, which of course Star Wars had just come out. Those are absolutely Jawas, right? I mean, if Star Wars is not made, those guys don't look like they do. But it doesn't bother me. I think he's like, whatever. I know I'm lifting straight from Star Wars, you know. I
honestly think if this wasn't made, we wouldn't have Nightmare on Elm Street.
How so? Explain.
The whole dream aspect, because when you look at the film, it feels like, especially like at the end, where Mike is talking to Reggie and he goes, it was all a dream, you know, it didn't happen and all this, right? It feels very much like, hold on. Yeah, that's right, the tall man, he can get in your dreams. It can be in your real life. It can be in your dreams. You can't tell from reality half the time. And I feel like that could have inspired a Nightmare on Elm Street, as well as the real death of what happened, obviously, for the first movie.
The original film, you know, Reggie doesn't have a big part. It's really about the brothers. It's about Mike and Jody. It's really
it's a discounted ice cream Clint Howard man, isn't he?
I mean, he has a part, and we'll get more into, you know, Reggie's shift starting in number 2. I know that's one of your favorites. But and also let's not overlook the original Blood, Yellow.
I
mean, you know, I don't know if that was done to, you know, the MPAA might lose their crap if it's red, but it's not an
choppy the fingers. Choppy the fingers.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool. So the movie is original. You got the tall man, you got the spears, which I've never seen anything like that as a killing machine. Fairly low budget, but the movie still looks good.
I like, you know, one of my favorite effects in it, the finger in the box. I thought it was really well done.
Right, because after they chop off a tall man's fingers, they take one, the severed finger, then it turns into like a fly, right?
Yeah, it does. It turns into like this big buggy fly thing. They're like a blue ball. Good effects when it's on the head and everything.
Hey, wait, you missed out on the pun. Blue balls. Come on.
Oh, blue balls.
Okay, so the original film, is it a classic, great film, good film? Where does it stand, you know, in your mind?
You know, I have to be honest. I remember watching it first when I was a kid, really young on TV. And I remember it being a lot more scarier than it was now. So I'm going to call it a classic, the first one, just because I remember being more scared of it when I was a kid. And I feel like all the others don't compare to this first one. So I'm going to put that as a classic just because I think it's actually a decent film compared to the others.
I think it's a damn good film. I don't know if it's classic like a lot of people put it. I know what you're saying, though. When you watch a movie, especially when you're younger, when you're a kid, you're scared of everything, right? So you watch a movie.
Always everything, but that's scary.
You know what I'm saying? You're scared of the dark. Horror films have a different effect. And with Phantasm Ravager, even when you're older, you can have a different opinion watching it, you know, years later.
Yep. You had to go for a decade before you know.
So 1988, a bigger budget, released by Universal Studios. Summer. Actually, I was on Don Coscarelli's Instagram page today, and on this day in 1988, it was released in theaters.
Oh, today.
Today. The ball is back. Why don't you like this film?
And do you know what else was released in 1988?
The Blob?
Me, through my mum's stomach. In 1988, I was born.
The Antichrist was born. So we've talked prior. You're not a big fan of 2. Why is that?
That's changed. I watched it again. And I got to be honest, this one's probably the best sequel in my view. I love the guy. I felt so bad for the guy. He gets the thing in their hand, as you see in the picture there, right? And then when he grabs them again, boom! What is it with these villains grabbing hold of the heroes, as you'd think they're called anyway, right? And then getting a ball in the face. It's like, what the hell? Every single movie.
Well, they have to have that iconic scene after the original film had the ball going in and squirting out the blood. You had to.
And I love how, isn't this the first one that has the golden balls, or is that the third one?
I want to say it was 3, but you could just look at this film. It looks more pristine. It just looks like it had the budget the original didn't. And
yeah. See?
Malcolm,
this is my movie.
Lightning does strike twice.
I will say, I think this is more fun. There's a lot, you get more Reggie, you get more of him, because you get a different Mike in this one. And because then the guy who plays Mike returns, doesn't he, in the other ones?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a contract dispute. It's the only film where Mike, and it's kind of jarring. It's not the same guy, and it's not close to looking like the same guy. He's kind of a pretty boy. Boy. A little
bit too pretty.
It distracts a little bit, but this is the film where Reggie kind of becomes the star of the film, even as much as the tall man. It's
also the goofy man.
The goofy man, the ice cream man, the 1971 black Barracuda. He calls it the Cuda with the double barrel shotgun. This is kind of like his, he becomes like, what's her name in Terminator and Terminator 2. And he becomes like the action star. And it doesn't bother me because he plays it so well. He's a likable character. You can't help but get behind him.
I'm so glad they did, because Jodie is one of the most boring characters in movie history. And every single movie he's in, he's like, oh, hello, Mike. Hello, Reggie. I'm off now. Hey, Mike. Hey, Reggie. Oh, don't trust him, Reggie. Oh, Mike.
He's kind of not worried about the situation. It's kind of like, they kidnapped me. Whatever happens, happens, And Reggie's like hell-bent on, saving the world. And
that's the other thing. When I saw the original Mike in the first one, I was like, is this a sister or a brother? I couldn't tell.
Oh, the long hair, the feminine features?
Yeah, I was like, who is it? Is it a boy? Is it a girl?
You have to remember that era, man. That was kind of common. Guys with long hair looking like they're members of the Bee Gees.
I'm not going to say it, but everybody knows what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Anyway, I love the way this movie starts with the explosion. Such a great way. And the other thing I like about these movies, I'm going to say this right here, because obviously this is the first sequel continuation, is they continue where the other one left off. Even if they're like 10 years down the line. It's like, whoa, it's up in the air. Oh, they're in the house. And I like the beginning, especially when he goes, oh, that didn't happen. And then, boom, his whole family gets killed. And it's like, Reggie's got a real reason now to start the war. And what is that as well? What is that with that girl, right? So he consents the girl, right? And then when they finally mate, they're practically getting it on.
Well, what I like is, as you can see from 2, 3, and on, Reggie always gets trouble because he's always chasing tail. And every single time, usually the girl is one of tall man's, hiding in disguise because
Mistresses.
They know he's so horny that he's just looking for the hookup, not looking at, the bigger picture. But it's kind of cool because that kind of becomes that's his weakness. That's his kryptonite.
I will say this is one of the best effects I've seen in a movie. And that was when they find the girl originally and the thing comes out of her back. That was really well done.
Kind of like the Hunchback, the monster on her shoulder.
Yeah, that was really good.
Also, when they put the needle inside the tall man and turn on like the acid and he bubbles up and starts to melt. Well, the guy, I think his name is Mark Shostrom. he did makeup effects really prolific in the 80s. You can tell they had more money because they were dealing with a bigger studio. This got, like, I remember it's a summer release in 88. There's a picture on, you could look it up online, where Angus Scrimm in costume is standing in front of a banner, like off the side of the road, huge banner. It says Phantasm 2. It's really the only time this series has got a major theatrical release. Most of the, first one got a release, but it kind of became a direct-to-video franchise with 3, 4,
which makes sense when you watch the others. That makes sense because they've got that direct-to-video kind of feel to them.
Yeah, and I do appreciate, like you said, kind of like a Friday the 13th sequel. One movie ends, the beginning, they show it. They don't spend too much time on it, but they kind of recap what happened. And it's not jarring. It's not distracting. It's kind of like a smooth transition just to remind you, hey, this is what happened. And things run in cycles.
Also, Reggie gets killed at the end of this one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he comes back, but it's a very strong film. I've always liked 2 more than 1, so I'm already going to put 2 as my favorite so far.
I rate this one higher. I rate this higher than the first one, but I don't rate it higher in the fear factor.
Before we move on to Phantasm 3, folks, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Yep. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to my favorite film in the series.
Oh.
1990.
All I got to say is nunchuckers.
Well, I feel like this is Don Coscarelli. This was like his Sam Raimi moment. This is the wild, crazy, let's throw things at the wall. We don't care what sticks or not. I just feel like the spheres were the best, the most inventive, the most creative, while still remaining practical. They just mixed it up. One girl gets a hole in her head. Literally, the sphere goes right through the middle of her face, comes out the back. I like the kid. That didn't bother me. The little kid in the house that's...
You mean the gunslinger?
Well, it's like Home Alone all over again. He's learned...
Also, one of the villains, who's in it, who's against the kid, is the main villain in what film?
You got me.
Adventures in Babysitting.
Are you talking about the 3 like kind of white trash people?
Yeah, the shorter guy. He's the main villain in Adventures in Babysitting.
So I didn't know that. So we have that. But the killer in the house, of course, this movie came out in 94. Home Alone's 90. It's kind of like a wink and a nod to Home Alone, but he's a badass and he sets deadly traps. I actually feel the short time, the kid that's in this film, it works better than what's the movie that Vinegar Syndrome released that everybody said Home Alone ripped off?
Oh, Deadly Games. Wasn't
a fan. I feel like this kid in Phantasm 3 is better than what went on in Deadly Games. I felt like...
Yeah, codename Deadly Games.
Wasn't too big of a fan. And I do like Rocky. Her friend gets taken out real quick, but she's this kind of like kung fu, nunchuck carrying.
I enjoyed that scene with Reggie when he's giving it to her from behind. You see her, right? And things for her down, she has beautiful nipples, right? And then all of a sudden, Jodie turns up being as boring as ever, right? Going, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you, Reggie. He's like, can you just hold on? And he goes, oh, come on. And then he walks out the door and he's in the desert. And you're like, oh.
Okay, so let's go to that scene because I remember what Jodie says because he's having some fun. And then Jodie's like, can you get behind me? Can you get behind what I'm saying? Because obviously saying get behind me, you have a whole different meaning. So it's a nice little
I'm sure Reggie would have and all.
Being the horn dog that Reggie is, who knows, man? But
also, I forgot to say there's a Easter egg to Sam Raimi in the second movie.
Remind me.
When they're in the cremation room with the girl, he pours stuff out of a bag, and that bag has Sam Raimi on it.
In the 80s, Sam Raimi and Wes Craven would go back and forth. If you watch like Evil Dead 2, and then go like to, Shocker or something. They were going back and forth, a nice little friendly, here's a Hills Have Eyes poster in the scene. And so I didn't know that about part 2, or I missed it. So
He paused it. One of the villains paused this thing. I'm not sure if it's in the bag or out the bag, but it says on the bag, Sam Raimi.
I'm reminded by the back of the artwork, the scene where the tall man's coming through the portal, they're able to close it. His hands come off. They become these kind of crab-like monsters, right? And then Rocky gets her knife, and one goes up Reggie's leg, and it goes up near his crotch. And then she stabs it and kills it. And he's like, that was close. And she's like, please. Kind of like you're talking about his manhood. She's like, there's nothing there. Don't worry about it. I wasn't close to hitting.
What I love is in the start of this one, the tall man comes out of the portal again and throws his dead body in there. Because what we didn't say was they almost go into it and there's all these things in barrels that are crawling towards them, which are probably all rebirths of the tall man again.
Yeah, I think we start to get deeper into the mythology and realizing there's not one tall man. You quote unquote kill one, he just replaces himself. So it's kind of like this loop, this never-ending battle.
What I like about the tall man in the first movie is he's very Dracula-esque with the way he is, like the way he moves, the way he talks, the way he is. But then he slowly gets into like this kind of I'm an all-being kind of character who has all these powers that slowly pop in that make him immortal. It's interesting.
Yeah. 3 is just so strong. It's just 90 minutes or whatever, just nonstop action, gore, effects. For a direct-to-video film, just so strong. I don't feel like this one bumps 2 out of my top pick. So, I mean, it's my favorite of the series. I've already said that. Nothing's going to knock it off. It's kind of like up there on its own. It's a fun time. And what do you think? Is it better than 2 for you?
I don't think it's better than 2, but I love Rocky. I love the nunchuckers. And I love the kid. I actually was rooting for Rocky to leave with the kid. Like to look after him, not for, romance, obviously. But I will say this, this was the start of when you kept getting all these like dead, Night of the Living Dead style characters fighting them as well during the series more. Like the enemies. And then in the other ones, you get like cops, you get these, and it becomes more of a norm. As in the first 2, that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, the 3 bad guys, they basically become zombies for the tall man.
Yeah.
They're working for him.
At this point, and at the end of this point, you have to wonder, the tall man, is he really this incompetent? But somebody like Reggie can just keep escaping, and Mike, and I mean, we know later on that he wants Mike because he sees something in him, right? But when it comes to Reggie, you're like, okay, you've got him up against the wall now with all these balls and in his face and on his body, and all lot is gone. It's like, what the hell?
It's I feel sad when Rocky sets off into the sunset and doesn't want to join them, because it kind of reminded me of Aliens with Ripley and Newt and then Michael Bihn's character, right? Kind of like this little family. I feel like by the end of 3, you got Rocky, the little boy, and Reggie, and then she kind of like in like a Jack Burton kind of move. Yeah. I'm sorry, I got to go. I just don't want to be part of it. And it's kind of a bummer. And then, typical Phantasm ending. It's not going to be a good ending. Reggie's got the balls and he's stuck to the wall, and, tall man does his boy, and then boom,
I like that. It's not over. It's never over.
It's never over.
The 4th one is the start of when they do use CGI balls.
Right. So we are going to move on to 1998's Phantasm 4 Oblivion, which really is kind of like, a lot of it's a prequel as well as a sequel. We get a lot of backstory on who the tall man was. He wasn't always, this sinister character, I think I want to say this is my least favorite, but I don't dislike it. I feel like the energy from 3 doesn't carry over to 4. I feel like it's kind of it's still got Reggie. It's still got him, seeking down, looking for a hot girl and to have some fun. But a lot of it's backstory and a little bit of, maybe a little over explaining.
It's clustered. It's like a cluster. You know what I mean? It's like I put this on, I'm watching it, and I'm like, it's a lot of people walking. There's barely any talking. It feels like it's trying to be an art film at some point. Oh, look, here we are. Then it's like, oh, we've seen too much Back to the Future. So we're going to go back in time and look at how the tall man started. And then, oh, look, Reggie's trying to get some action again with a woman who's now got 2 balls in her breast instead of anything else. And not just like what we forgot to tell people was at the end of number 3, Mike has a ball in his head.
Right. He kind of picks at his head and he realizes that he's really connected to that world. There's the sphere.
I reckon this, right, that one is connected to Chop Top. Because Chop Top has a ball in his head as well. There we go.
Right. Now we know. Wait. You got to get the hanger.
It's a ball.
Get the hanger. Wait. You got to.
It's a ball. Now we know it's a ball.
And you remember in 3, even his eyes look like spheres. They put some contact lenses, and it's kind of
very clever.
Okay.
Was that contact lenses or was that CGI? Because it looked more like CGI.
But let's put it this way. We're barely 2 minutes into 4, and Malcolm's already jumping back to 3. So we know Malcolm's not a fan of 4. How quickly he jumped ship and went back to Lord of the Dead.
It's all right. I'll say what I can about this. I just thought it went on and on and on and on and on and on. Don't get me wrong. I like the backstory on the tall man. I like how it happened. But it's such a basic concept. It's not like overcomplicated by any means. He found out how to make the portal. He went through, and it just wasn't him anymore. Very basic, very true, very easy. It's like any horror movie or what you call it. You want to figure out something. Oh, there's a demon in you now. Do you get what I mean? Obviously, the tall man took his skin because obviously the tall man doesn't look like him.
If you're going to do that exposition, let's not spend so much of the runtime on it. Because again, it goes back to my opinion on not all prequels. Just don't over-explain to the point that it's boring or less scary. Sometimes we don't need to know. We don't need to know the tall man. He just is, because we're already in the fantasy world of cinema, right? So I don't know why the script, Coscarelli, went that way. Again, I don't think it's a bad film. I don't think it's my least favorite of the 5, just because of all the over-explaining. And
this to me felt like it could have been a couple of low-budget TV episodes. That's how slow it was, I can't say I like this one very much. I like Reggie in it. He's just the same old Reggie, and I like him, but no, I didn't like it. I think this is probably my least favorite.
Same here. So yeah, Phantasm 4. So when you watched it, because I know you went back, you have the Arrow box set, you watched all 5. So did you always feel 4 was the weakest, and this just confirmed it?
Yeah. Basically,
okay.
I didn't like Ravager as much as you did, I think. But I barely remember Ravager after watching it. But I'm going to let you mention the things because I'll remember once you mention them more.
Okay. So originally, we were gonna do a cinematic fart blower theater on a film that when I originally saw it, which was probably 2016 when it came out, the 5th and final film, Phantasm Ravager, the 5th film. Okay. I watched it on Tubi over the weekend, not expecting to like it because I didn't like it all those years ago, but just to kind of get a refresher on some details. So when I go off on it, I have a little bit of, memories fresh in my mind. 15 minutes into the film, I'm like, shit.
15 minutes in. 15 minutes.
Well, 15 minutes in, I'm vibing with it. And I'm like, okay, I remember not liking it. Maybe something happens a little bit later.
Okay, we've got to ask this question before we continue. When you're vibing with a movie, does your head start going?
Dude, I was like...
Oh yeah, hey Miss Fang.
It was clicking to me. Like I thought it was a little okay. So there's a long scene at the beginning. Reggie's, Cuda has been stolen. He's hitchhiking. The guy that stole it picks him up. There's some CGI spheres, which not a fan of, but I get going down the highway at 80 miles per hour.
I hate the CGI spheres because it just take away from the.
But once it got into the mythology more and what was going on, and originally I didn't like the whole Reggie's in like a rest home. Dementia is like kind of hitting him in his older age.
But to be fair, that's been like 45 years.
Yeah. Was it a nightmare? Was it a dream? And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to pull the rug out from underneath us, right? With this storyline. But that's not really how it goes. It's the CGI aside, I wasn't a fan of the spheres in a lot of the, kind of wasteland, because basically Earth gets wiped out. The tall man has won in that sense. What we thought of, home is no longer what it is. But I realized this is not a Marvel film. This is not $100 million film. So I was a little bit more forgiving watching it now with the CGI. And I did like the ragtag team of guys that were helping. You had the little guy that you still have Reggie doing his thing, but you kind of go back and forth between, the tall man's world and him in the rest home. Kind of, you're like, wait, is it not working? And then something clicked with me. What I liked is when the tall man and Reggie came face to face, right? In that alternate dimension.
Yeah.
The tall man said something to Reggie that stuck. He said, "You're my bad dream." Meaning, you've been a pain in my side for all these years. You've been a good adversary, almost like he respected him. Maybe that's why he never killed him, because he appreciated he wouldn't give up attitude. And I kind of, you have to remember in real life, obviously Angus Scrimm passed away
before the film was released, wasn't he?
Yeah, his name is in the end credits. And in real life, Reggie Bannister, Don Coscarelli, Angus Scrimm, all of them, they're like family. And I almost felt like that line kind of hit me in a different way. I appreciated that. Like, it kind of brought it home. And I'm like, this is working as a fifth and final film more than I thought it would. And that scene had
a moment.
Apologies if you mentioned it. Do you recommend fiction tales from the world of Phantasm? I haven't read that. You read it?
Recommended. And there's another documentary. I think it's called like PHANTASM or something. It sounded like that. It came out. I was trying to see if that was on my Blu-ray set, but it's not on there. That's supposed to be pretty good as well.
Do you know who the author of the book is, by chance?
No, I got close. I'm not good at remembering that stuff.
Is it like it chronicles all the films?
I believe so. And it tells you basically the world, and it tells you stories, and basically like a normal book would. A normal kind of book about the history.
As much as I wasn't a fan of the CGI, the shots with the giant sphere and the laser shoots out and it takes out a building does not look cheap. That looked like...
That was a real building. They destroyed.
That looked great. And computer effects aside, it worked for me. And I was like, I'm glad I rewatched it, because if I was going to go off a memory from almost a decade ago, now that's not going to happen with every film. There's some films I watch every 5 or 10 years that I didn't like when I was younger, and they still stink.
I'm actually surprised you even watched it.
Well, I did, because there were some details. It had been a long time, and I was going to base it off a few things. And
Don Coscarelli himself. Well, there you go then.
Okay, the author is Don Coscarelli himself. Okay.
Oh, that's the other thing you didn't say. This was the first film that wasn't directed by him.
Yeah, I'm curious why. I know that Coscarelli was a co-writer on the film. He hasn't directed a lot of films, considering how long he's been doing it.
His health.
He did. I mean, he still looks great when I see him, and he still goes to screenings. But he did pass the torch to another director. And something I forgot. This is a film that kind of was made under wraps. There was internet rumblings about they're doing a Phantasm 5, but there was none of the websites had got a hold of it. There were no on-set photos. And literally the teaser trailer kind of came out of nowhere. And people were like, holy crap. In the digital age of internet and horror websites, they really did keep it under wraps. And it was like a big surprise. It came out of left field.
Some of the things that were quite sad for me in this film was Angus Scrimm looked so ill. He didn't look healthy in this. And that was so sad because it's the first time you see the tall man and you actually think he looks very weak and vulnerable. And don't get me wrong, it plays well in the film, but at the same time, it kind of makes you feel a bit sad because the guy's frail, the guy's struggling, The other thing I will say is I wasn't a big fan of CGI. I never am in these type of franchises where they end up with CGI going on and more. But there's a point where it becomes cheaper, to use the CGI than actual practical effects anyway. I think it's a good end, but I can imagine if they really wanted to, they could have made another one. But they wouldn't have Angus Scrimm, would they?
And going back
maybe
to
an animation one.
And feeling kind of melancholic about his health. And there's a scene where Reggie's laying in the bed in the retirement home, and then the tall man's right next to him. And it kind of, even if you didn't know the outcome, like you watched the film, let's say he was still alive, he doesn't look the best on film, but he was a trooper. He still shot the film. He's still the tall man, but he's definitely a weakened, you can see he's not in the best health.
But go on, you finish and I'll say.
I do like that, having watched it again, there were things that brought it full circle. The lady in lavender from the original film, the same actress, she came back for a scene in the mausoleum, and she still looked great, and she was there. So that also, did you know that there was an end credit scene in this film?
Yeah.
When I first watched
I did my film on. You turned it off, didn't you, before the end credit scene?
Well, because most movies don't have it, especially direct to video. So I'm thinking, okay.
That's amateur. Every movie now, you have to leave it on in case there's an end credit scene. You amateur.
No, but I watched it a little bit further, not realizing, okay, the little guy somehow survives. He blows off his hand, and then he looks in hey, can you pause? My dog is whining, which means she's either going to throw up or go to the bathroom in her kennel.
Oh, is that what the short guy says?
That's why I'm going to step away for like 30 seconds.
All right, sure, that's fine.
Well, you take over.
I will. So if I do talk about the film from a standpoint, I enjoyed it. Didn't think the CGI was that great. I thought kind of the Hellmouth kind of situation, Wasteland, it was okay. Angus Scrimm as the tall man, brilliant, but really depressing to say. I think Bene's right about how he respects Reggie because of all these years. Because Reggie's kind of like that Muppety hero where basically he didn't want any part of it. He ended up in it. He wasn't that efficient, but when he did get it done, he got it done. So it's kind of like that idiot kind of fun guy that gets it done in the long run. And you kind of is the type of every guy character you support. And I kind of like the idea of it. You originally think, it's going to be Mike and Judy, and it isn't. It's him who ends up, in the position all the time.
That's now this is how we do it live. Anything happens. But going back to the end credits, so the little guy survives, hands blown off, and then somebody walks forward, and you just see the feet, and you look up, and it's Rocky from my favorite film, Lord of the Dead. So the first time I watched it, so the ending that I thought I originally saw was not the ending, obviously. So we got the lady from Lavender pops up in this film. We have somebody from part 3 that shows up. And then you're like, oh, still kind of bummer because what about Updrive's, their ride? They got some stuff to still do. Their mission is not done. A 1971 CUDA, black. Reggie's in the car. So basically the franchise is saying the fight is never over. There's always going to be tall men. There's always going to be, even if Reggie passes away, or there's always going to be soldiers. They're going to fight the fight.
I want to know right? So there's tall men, right? There's millions of tall men. And we know there's the short men in the clothes, but it's the medium-sized men.
What about the medium people? They're not represented?
No, I feel that's unfair.
Well,
because obviously where they come from, it's all about height. So they're like from the world of heights, the heights.
Would you be open to a TV show?
I would have been open to a animated show back in the day, but I do think a TV show is more likely now. Shudder, maybe. Hopefully not Blue Mouse, because Blue Mouse seems to want to destroy everything.
I don't know, man, about Shudder. They're not doing so well. I mean, they're hanging on by a thread, and it's only being held up by, Joe Bob and his show. And I'm not a fan of that show. I had Shudder for a while. I mean, I like their Creep Show series. I just don't, and I'm not bashing streaming at all. What I'm saying is it's very hard to make money at streaming unless your name is Netflix, because subscribers come and go. People still find ways to share passwords. So when you're spending money on original shows and movies, I don't know how long, they're going to be around.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right. One thing I've learned about places like Shudder, places that, focus on one thing more so, is you run out of content eventually. There's there's certain horror you don't want to say, there's certain things you don't want to say. Once you've done that, sometimes it can be years before you do it again because you're like, okay, I'm waiting for 10 new things I like on there. I'm waiting for 20 new things. Netflix, there's new things constantly, even if most of it's junk.
Weekly new movies, television series. So, I mean, I'd be down for a TV show. I don't want animation. I'm more live action. I don't know if you can do it. I mean, I don't know if they will do it. It's a popular franchise, but it's not Friday the 13th. It's not.
Well, I won't call it that popular. I don't think, until I spoke to you, I don't think anyone else has ever spoken to me about it.
I mean, I feel it's popular. People like it. It's not in the top echelon. I don't think a TV series would get the ratings that a studio's not going to roll the dice. They will on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Child's Play.
From Dusk Till Dawn, because they made a series of that.
From Dusk Till Dawn. There's not many that are guaranteed that are going to cross over. So, yeah. 5 films. I'm glad I rewatched Ravager. Much better than I thought it was going to be. Didn't know about the end credits.
I'm shocked by that. I would have thought you would have known that because you know all this stuff normally.
No, I just didn't think about it because usually not all horror films do it, even theatrical ones.
Yeah, but this is 2016.
I know when
the superhero movie was by then, and so everybody learned around 2000 and I think it was. 14. Always keep the thing on just in case of an after credit scene. I mean, look at Saw. Then we would have thought Saw 10 would have had an after credit scene.
I haven't seen Saw 10 still.
Well, good thing I told you because now you know there's an after credit scene, and it's probably the best scene in the whole movie.
And we know they're doing 11's being filmed right now, so yeah.
And I'm in it.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm Tony Bell's son in it.
5 films, a strong series for me. Lord of the Dead's the best. Oblivion's my least favorite. What's yours ranking?
Okay, I would say my favorite is number 2 for the action, but number 1 for the horror. I'd say number 4 is the worst. I'd say Ravager is next to number 4, and I'd say number 3 is just cheesy fun.
Sometimes opinions change, sometimes they don't. Going into this, Malcolm told me he wasn't a fan of 2. I wasn't a fan of 5. Here we are. Malcolm finds it to be, totally enjoyable as I felt Ravager was. So
I will say this, number 3 gave me the most pleasure.
I don't know. 3 is just so damn good. It's just that's my favorite. He just, he swung for the fences and it worked. And it's I love that film. Always liked it. Liked it way back when I rented it on VHS. It goes back a long way with me.
The other thing that's both number 4 is all the flashback of scenes that they edited out the first one.
I almost feel like that when you've over flashback, you ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect example of overdoing flashbacks. Remember the See No Evil, the slasher film with Kane, the wrestler.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Part 2,
yeah.
which is directed by the Soska sisters, not bad, but they spent so much. I don't mind the opening being like a continuation from the first film, but there were so many callbacks to the original, it was distracting.
Well, I will say, though, is the second one has one thing in it that everybody enjoyed watching. Do you know what that was?
Daniel Harris or the girl from Ginger Snaps?
The girl from Ginger Snaps, not Daniel Harris. Catherine Isabel. Ooh, she was in her prime back then.
That's when she was prime cut.
Especially when she climbs on top of Kane and starts giving a little bit of that showing. I always remember those scenes.
So let's talk about what were some of the recent movies you watched over the weekend, the long holiday weekend?
Oh, you want to? Okay, let me get my letterbox up.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I watched the newest Godzilla King Kong film.
Oh, did you like it?
The new Empire is okay.
Okay.
I think Godzilla was kind of wasted.
Yeah, do you find that in modern stuff?
You saw it?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I know that type of stuff happens. Modern stuff, they kind of take away the best element in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's like when you watch. It's like when you watch when they bring back something like an old action hero, and it's their kid on the screen most of the time because they're too old to do it. Do you get what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Alex just got his HMV email Suspiria VHS set from Vice Press up for pre-order.
What?
I don't know. A Suspiria VHS set. Are you going to look it up?
God. I'm going to look at it right now.
Well, I'm not going to say too much about the new Empire since you haven't seen it. I felt like I'm always more of a Godzilla fan than King Kong. Godzilla.
You're going to like this. There's an Evil Dead 2 one as well. Look at this. So this is the Suspiria one. It's got 2. Oh, God. Let me take that.
Take your background off, and then if not, we'll never see it.
Let me take the background off. Move from edit. Oh, send. What did you? None. Okay, there we go. So look at this. So there's
nice.
Right, really nice. And then you've got the Evil Dead 2 one.
That's the artwork that Anchor Bay put on their DVDs way back in the day.
Yeah, and then get a set. Wow, I wonder how much they are. Let's have a look, just in case people wonder. The prices are, when it loads, come on, load for me. Oh, £30.99 each. What the hell? That's ridiculous. £30.99. So that's what, like $38? Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had a VCR in so long, I would have no use for them.
But they're collectibles. They're not to watch. They're collectibles.
Oh, okay. So
I mean, you can watch them, but
Godzilla, King Kong, New Empire was kind of not as good as Godzilla versus Kong. I also watched I watched Beverly Hills Cop 4 last night.
Oh, please tell me you hated it.
So they call it Netflix original film. They call it Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Fucking great. That's not a bad film. Now, if you're going to go into it, it's a bad film because it's direct to streaming, like some YouTubers do, then you're not going to like it because you've already put a chip on your shoulder. It's been 30 years, so I could see where people were hesitant, right? But you got Eddie Murphy, you got Bronson Pinchot, you got Judge Reinhold, you got those original people back, you got Paul Reiser, and they incorporated.
This is why these things sell, because people in America, right? They always want to be brought back to memories of when they were younger, right? They bring back these old people, and people fall in love with them again. Oh, it's a good movie because it's got all these old codgers in it that can't do anything anymore. It's okay. I understand, okay?
Did you see it yet? Or are you basing it off of just it opens, okay, it's more than this. The nostalgia, no, is not going to make me like a film. Because I've seen plenty of movies that got brought back people, and I'm like, not good. They use the original music. So You get
Of course they will. It's a Beverly Hills Cop movie. How can they not use the original music?
Okay, in the Highlander sequels, they didn't use Queen's music from the original, and it kind of suffers because that. Oh no, think about it. Highlander 2, I don't remember any of them. I don't know if they didn't want to pay the rights for, but you have Queen did the whole soundtrack.
Highlander 2. All right, okay, I remember them all. Highlander 2 was kind of like a remake of the first one with Sean Connery in as well, where it basically says they're aliens. Highlander 3 has Mel Van Peebles in playing a black samurai who is fighting Christopher Lambert, and he at one point chews a condom thinking it's bubblegum. Number 4 has the main villain, and it stars Donnie Yen in that, where he has to kill them all to get his thing up. And I think it's Christopher Lambert fights Duncan MacLeod. Duncan MacLeod fights Duncan MacLeod so they can get enough kills where we'll beat this guy. And then number 5, the source, Duncan MacLeod becomes human, and it ruins the whole franchise.
But what I'm saying is, not all sequels have to do it. You got Pointer Sisters, you got Glenn Fry, you got the original theme, and amazing action set pieces. The opening 15 minutes, without saying too much, you can't catch your breath because it's just boom, boom. And they don't overplay. An important thing they don't overdo is their age. There's not this constant, oh, my back hurts because I'm old.
Oh, what's the internet? What's the mobile phone? What's this?
Okay, exactly. They don't overdo that. And it starts in Detroit. It ends up in Beverly Hills. Without saying too much, it involves Axel Foley's daughter, who he has a strained relationship with.
She's a lawyer, isn't she?
She's a lawyer for a guy that's accused of a murder, and she gets in trouble, and it works in the way that like a Star Wars prequel doesn't, where it's over giving nods to the original films. You realize it's an Axel Foley Beverly Hills Cop film, not just by the character and the music, but it clicks, and it's not based off nostalgia alone. It works, and I sat there and watched it. Not once did I look at my phone or stand up and pause it to go grab something to eat. But if it stunk, I would tell you. But in my opinion,
hold on, you're telling me when you were watching a film, you didn't have to get up and do it all at once?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the movie kind of kept my attention in a way that surprised me because 1994 was Beverly Hills Cop 3. 30 years later, but everybody like Bronson Pinchot, he's brought in without saying too much, and it works why they need his help for something. I know you have.
Kevin Bacon's in it as well.
Huh?
Kevin Bacon's in it as well.
I really thought it was well done. Oh, yeah, Kevin Bacon is great. I don't want to say too much because you haven't seen it. Yeah. Somebody watch it.
I will watch it. I just think it's a lot of nostalgia.
Well, every sequel is nostalgia. Sometimes it takes 2 years to make a sequel. Sometimes it takes 30, 40 years. Everything is nostalgia if it's a sequel.
So you admit part of it is nostalgia?
Of course.
You said it wasn't nostalgia. You said it wasn't, though.
No. There's always going to be nostalgia because it's an older franchise.
Yeah, of course.
But even with all that music, that it could be out of place too.
So the last time it came out. So the last one came out, you were in your 20s.
Yeah, I mean 1994. I'm 23.
Bloody hell.
And then John Landis directed the last one. We haven't had anything remotely. I mean, I'm not sure why they waited so long, but better late than never. Netflix gets a bad rap because this movie will probably never come out physical media, just the way it is.
Yeah, sure.
But doesn't mean it's not good. Just like the new Star Wars series, The Acolyte, is fantastic. And I'm a Star Wars fan. Huh?
But people hate it.
Oh, they hate? I mean, they have every right to if they've actually watched it or you watch. But if you're going to come in with, it's Disney Star Wars, it's not George Lucas Star Wars, so it can't be good. I'm sorry. After Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, it's going to take a lot for Disney to fuck up for them to be worse than those 3 films.
Revenge of the Sith's the best one.
And it's still bad. It's just better than the other 2.
I love Revenge of the Sith.
Let's just put the Acolyte, again, I don't want to give away too much. I don't think you've seen it. George Lucas always said, the original Star Wars film was based off a lot of the work of Akira Kurosawa, the samurai film. The whole lightsaber stuff is the samurai stuff. And I feel like The Acolyte, which is a prequel, it takes place like before everything. It's like in the Bible, this is Genesis, right? This is
So
what helps it is there's talk of Jedi and Sith, but there's no Obi-Wan, there's no Han Solo, there's no R2-D2, there's none of that.
There's Yoda.
It's 100 years before the Empire. And
is Yoda in it?
No, he's not around. He might be around, but he's not in the series. It's not applied.
What about Baba Gaga, or whatever his name is, the little one from the Mandalorian? Is he in it?
Grogu?
Yeah.
Just let's put the casting of some non-white actors, and George Lucas always saying this was Star Wars was Akira Kurosawa influence from the designs to the lightsaber battles. I feel like the makers of the show kind of cast people on purpose. And of course, are they making it up? Yes. George Lucas, prior to the prequels, for him, there really was no story. But when you sell, the Star Wars name for, $1 billion cash or whatever it was, a couple billion, you've given up the rights for them to do whatever they want. If you didn't like it, then you should have never sold it for all that cash.
Personally, I think the Korean actor in it, who's a real famous Korean actor, I had to get his name up to say it right, Lee Jung-jae, sold himself out by being in that show. I really think that's the worst decision he made. And not because the show's bad, I'm sure it's brilliant, but because I feel like, and it's going to sound really, really, what's the word?
Dumb?
No, upper crust. It's going to sound very, very upper crust. I feel like some of these real big actors, they shouldn't be in shows like Star Wars Acolyte, especially if they come from a different country, because what it does for me is it feels like they have to dumb down their career to be into a series or something that's American, so the American audience know who they are. Because when he was in Squid Games, right, most people in England and America and that were like, how does it feel to be in your first real award show as an actor when he'd been in films for over 20, 30 years? To me, I don't get me wrong.
Jet Li did it.
That's the problem.
Jet Li did it. Jackie Chan did it. John Woo did it. So a lot of people have done it. I understand.
But where was Jet Li in the TV series?
I'm just saying people want to broaden their horizons and just have a bigger audience, more opportunities.
Yeah, but Jet Li had a great start because he was in Lethal Weapon 4 as the main villain in that, which was really well done. And then he went into things like Romeo Must Die and Crawl to the Grave and stuff, right? Jackie Chan failed in America originally and then came back and started doing stuff like Around the World in 80 days now before he started getting even thingy, so people noticed him more. But what I'm saying is there's a big difference. When you enter a big, massive franchise, right, of something, you just become noticed for that. So I get why people do it because, hey, if I go to Comic-Con, those people are going to give me money because I was in that Star Wars thing, I was in that Star Trek thing, I was in this. And I'm not saying the actors are wrong. I just think it takes away when it's on their CV of that when they're a foreign actor. I feel like they could easily do better work in their own country since I watch Korean films. That's my opinion on that. It doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, but that's my opinion.
Okay, so I watched over the weekend Beverly Hills Cop 4. Whew, didn't realize I was going to be that feisty. And the new Godzilla film, love Beverly Hills Cop 4. What did you watch? What are a couple of the best, or not best, just films that you watched over the weekend?
I watched Bad Nun 3, which is the third one in the series. And basically, it's got this nun that goes around. Basically, it's like a nun outfit, and it's like this black bit here where you can't see them. And they knock on people's door, and they go, "Hello, this is Sister Mary Lamb," right? And they talk for them, and they open the door, and they go, right, and stab them, right? Brilliant series, brilliant movie series, but number 3 is terrible because it hasn't got the same impact as the other two. Because the other two are basically to do with Catholic nuns, abusing kids. and what it did, and basically why the people were doing what they're doing, killing people. This is kind of like, we're trying to make some snuff movie stuff because, from those previous killings. So it was very disappointing. The actors didn't act really well. It was a very bad film. I expected more from it. So do not go out and watch that, guys. I also watched The Curse of Humpty Dumpty.
What the hell is that?
From the same director of The Bad Nun. And it's to do with people that are going through, basically a woman's got dementia and her two daughters are looking after her, and she finds a Humpty Dumpty dummy, which she picks up because it reminds her of her husband, and that dummy is actually alive and kills people. It's a very boring film.
Blissfully awful.
It's very boring. Probably worse than number 4 in Phantasm. And then I watched the After Porn Ends trilogy, basically, which are documentaries about what people do after they leave, the old adult entertainment. And I'll be honest, number 2 was the best. Number 1 was okay. Number 3 was just like, because they don't go into the right depth, and it felt like most of the people just went back. It felt like very run-of-the-mill documentary series. What else did I watch? Because I've been watching a lot of shorts with Donna recently. So let me just go back. And I watched, if it lets me go down, I watched Patient Zero, which was a movie starring Natalie Dormer, Matt Smith, Charlie Brown, I call him, from the Taken TV series, because he was in Namaste London as Charlie Brown, so I always call him that. And it had Sam Tully from Game of Thrones, and then it was basically an English film, British-made film. And there's a zombie apocalypse kind of thing where they can talk. And that's it, really. It wasn't that great.
Well, let's kind of go back to where we began. I am a fan with the PH of the Phantasm series. I felt like Oblivion's obviously weak. Ravager is better than I remembered. I think the first 3 films still hold up. Lord of the Dead's my favorite. I suggest going out and buying the box set. Take your choice. It's been released by so many different companies. Probably the Arrow set's going to be the most comprehensive and best extra features.
£30, not bad price. £30, that works out £6 a movie.
So yeah, but before I forget, let me shout out to everybody that came by. We'll be back next. Actually, most likely we're going to be back Friday for the Severance sale.
Yes, we will be.
It finally goes live, but let me just say the prices are absolutely outrageous, like you expect them to be. We'll save that for Friday. They kind of let out loose, here's the rules and regulations of the sale. Here's the prices. And I'm just like, ouch.
Basically,
thank you, Alex, for coming by.
Basically, what you're saying is you saw the prices and you basically were like, nah.
It's not good. But Friday we'll be on for Severin just to kind of look at things. Most likely I'm going to look at getting back stock that's going to be actually discounted as opposed to full price. Next Monday, this week, Paramount Plus is premiering the new season of Beavis and Butthead. So we're going to do another retrospective rewind next Monday on the film that kind of kickstarted the new kind of comeback for these guys is Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe.
Which is actually really good.
It's awesome. Awesome,
like Beverly
Hills Cop 4.
No. If I watch that movie and it's awful, I'm coming to blame you. I'm sure it's decent. I'm going to watch it. I can't say because I haven't watched it, obviously, but I just thought I'd add a little bit of a twist to it, nostalgia and that.
No, it's actually really well done. Thank you, Malcolm, for coming on. I know you had a hectic day today, but we will be back Friday for Severance Sale, and we'll be back Monday for Beaver and Bunghole. And thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Have a good Monday.
Thanks for watching, Alex.